Right, so one of the students that I gave a project to, a few students for Control Plus. I'm going to make this bigger. I can, Control Plus. So basically the project was to take some files, some CSV files, and convert them into a database in some way, shape or form. And one of the students decided to use sqlalchemy and share their project, this Python notebook, IPYNB. And I could open the notebook in Colabs or in the Jupyter Labs, but I just tend to use the environment here, the Visual Studio Code environment, and this works here. This is the exclamation mark pip install alchemy, which would install alchemy. But as you can see in VS Code, I've got this exclamation mark over here. Use percentage pip install. Okay, fine. So exclamation mark pip install could install package into the wrong environment. Okay, more info. Use percentage pip install instead of exclamation pip install for Jupyter. Right. So let's have a little attempt at that, because the alternative for that was, because I just had a little search somewhere over here on Stack Overflow, someone's had the same issue. No module not found, error, no module named sqlalchemy after installation. It's not the same error, but it looks like a similar type of error, although I wonder what the error message was on here. If I actually attempted to run it, let's just see if I got a no module. It says requirement already satisfied, funnily enough. Probably because I had alchemy already installed. So let me just put this percentage down anyway. But the alternative to that was, or this is the solution, is to do a Python -n pip install IP kernel. So it looks like that would have needed to have been done. I'm going to attempt to do this. This is all live, so I don't know what's actually going to happen. These are the struggles, the trials and tribulations of a coder. So I'm going to attempt to do that here, like this, which is the full install Python -n pip. So let's just do that and see what happens. And I don't know if this will disappear or not. Sometimes it disappears after a few seconds. I called it Crypto Project. There's a different attempt. I'll hit save. I don't know if that will do anything or not. Let's have a look. Just reopening it. I guess I'll double click to keep it there. The kernel, let's just see what happens. Whirring around a lot. Right, that didn't seem to do anything. I'm going to now attempt, I guess, to do the hash pip install. It doesn't throw an error. I wonder if it runs. Okay, possibly runs. So I'm going to stick this into, because it's also the same for PyMySQL. And I'm going to stick it into my favorite friend, which is ChatGPT, which is here. I've got pre-asked questions, so it might, I'll start it up in a new chat. What does this? I'll put backticks on it. Oh no, I don't want that. So take that back. I'm basically asking here, and I'm going to change that for the exclamation mark. Or in fact, I'll do hash pip install. Do in a Jupyter notebook. Right, something went wrong. The reason why is probably because I need to do a refresh. So hit refresh. Paste that in here. Is a command in Jupyter that allows you to install packages or libraries in your Python environment. When you run hash pip install followed by the name of the package in a code sim in Jupyter Notebook, it instructs this to, okay, for example, if you wanted to use a NumPy package, you could do hash pip install NumPy as opposed to You'd install an NumPy package and then you could import it and use it. Okay, note that the exclamation mark at the beginning of the command tells the Jupyter Notebook to run the command as a shell command rather than as a Python command. So that's what this exclamation means, is to run it as a shell command rather than the Python command. But it does not seem to work in VS Code. In a Jupyter Notebook in VS Code. Why is this? Or how can I fix this? I should possibly put, but let's just see. Missing dependencies. It's possible that the environment you're using does not have the necessary dependencies to run pip. You may need to install Python or pip. Well, I've got Python or pip installed. Incorrect syntax. Make sure you should include the exclamation mark that should run the shell command. Well, I've got that one in there as well. I'm not using a virtual environment. So I'm not 100% sure. Would percentage pip work? Because that's what seemed to kind of like work. It's not a valid command in the Jupyter Notebook. Well, that kind of like contradicts here because did I have that there before? I don't know. I'm going to close this. Don't save changes. Just want to make sure that I've got that all right. I'm going to reopen it up. I just have a feeling that I copied and pasted over something that already existed. Double click to keep it open. Right, yeah, I did. I must have copied them over, so I've got to be careful with that. But the pip install sqlalchemy doesn't work. I'm going to try this one here. But again, I've done an install in the environment. So that seems to. Let's have a look and just run that code. Requirement already satisfied. You may need to. It looks like hash pip install works. I'm actually going to copy this in. For example, paste that in. I think the backticks means like code. I apologise for my previous response. You are correct. Hash pip install is a valid command in the new Jupyter Notebook. It's a magic command. Okay, so the exclamation and the hash and the percentage sign look like they're possibly the same thing, although it says that there's a difference here, so we'll read that. The percentage pip command is a magic command in Jupyter Notebook that allows you to install packages in your Python environment using pip. The difference between percentage pip install and exclamation pip install, some people call it bang, I don't know why. It's not a Windows thing, it's a Linux thing, I think. Is that the percentage pip install is a Jupyter specific magic command, where the exclamation pip install is a shell command. It's a Jupyter specific magic command that works in any command line interface. That's interesting because it doesn't seem to work in my command line interface. So again, I apologise for my confusion caused by my previous response. Poor ChatGPT is profusely apologising, but actually it's been very helpful, so no need to apologise. You were great. I won't even type that in, although I'm tempted to. So you can do that. It looks like these exclamation pips are not valid, but anyway, I did a pip install without any of that, so that I've got it in my environment. I tend not to use these virtual environments. It'd be interesting to see what the comments are on virtual environments, but quite a large number of people tend to use them. It's just the reason why I don't use them is because if I'm doing like multiple packages or multiple modules of different things, so different projects that are going on, I want to like pip install numpy, and then I don't want to sort of like have this dependency thing where I do pip install numpy, pip install numpy, pip install into every virtual environment, which seems to need to be the case. Now I know that later on, because it swings and roundabouts with this, later on you need, or you might get conflicts with versioning. So if something did get upgraded in your project and you had a dependency that then sort of like and it wasn't backward compatible, and your code was looking at it and it didn't work, then it would break. But I'm kind of like more of the opinion that I should be doing the upgrading, keeping everything up to date as much as possible. So there's two schools of thought on that, but anyway, I think I will stick with the standard pip installs, which is basically this. Copy that and paste it into here effectively. So that pip install MySQL requirement already satisfied. You know, and I could bang it in, and again we see the requirement already satisfied. It's there, and the version number or whatever it is there as well. I presume that if a later version came out, I'm expecting that the later version would overwrite the previous version. Now that's the case where you may or may not get issues, but my argument would be that if I did have an issue, I would want to resolve it as soon as possible, because my code would start to have been dependent on redundant or non-supported code thereafter. So you kind of want to be current. So otherwise you're effectively pointing to legacy modules that are no longer supported. So presumably you want to keep up to date. So that's basically it. That's the exclamation pip install, or the percentage pip install, or pip install in a Jupyter notebook.